Let's go straight over to Los Angeles to talk to our brilliant royal commentator there, over there on the West Coast. A stone's throw almost, as long as you can throw a stone a very long way, about 200 miles, from Montecito. Warm welcome to the great Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kins.
Dramatic intro music, visuals of Harry and Meghan in headlines. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the shocking truth about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's collapsing brand. From multi-million-dollar deals vanishing to accusations of entitlement, things aren't looking good for the Sussexes. And just when you think it can't get worse, Kinsey Schofield has dropped some bombshell insights. Stick around, because we're breaking down the brutal Vanity Fair article that exposed their hustling ways, the real reason their $20 million book deal might be dead, why Hollywood and major brands are turning their backs on them.
Hey Kev, good to see you.
Always a pleasure. You've highlighted me to something rather interesting. Earlier in the week we discussed the excoriating Vanity Fair article, 8,000 words, which basically tears apart the Harry and Meghan fairy tale and particularly lays into Meghan. It's not a hatchet job, it's not a down-market hatchet job. Vanity Fair doesn't do that sort of thing. This is a thorough investigation accusing Meghan of bullying staff to the extent that some of them had to go into long-term therapy. That's quite an allegation. Neither Meghan nor Harry have denied it. They've just said that this article was distressing. I'm sure it was. But in this article was this, there you go, American Hustle. Not exactly a flattering headline, is it? They basically say that this couple are hustling their way through life, you know, trying to make a buck on the back of their royal status, and not doing very well, to say the least. But in this article was the extraordinary story that neither confirmed nor denied. There's no record of it in emails or documented or written down. But the story was that Meghan got a flunky to sort of shop around publishers to see whether there might be interest in a blockbuster post-divorce book. The article also said that Harry and Meghan were madly in love, so I'm not sure how much store we put by it. But Vanity Fair wouldn't put that anecdote in lightly. That article would have been through a million lawyers time and time again. So there's clearly something in it. You've alerted me to the fact that page 6, the famous gossip column in the New York Post, is reporting that that potential book deal is already dead in the water. Explain.
And hey, if you love getting the real, unfiltered take on all things royal, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's get into it. Vanity Fair's expose, American Hustlers. Let's start with the 8,000-word Vanity Fair article that just shredded the Harry and Meghan fairy tale. This wasn't some tabloid gossip. This was Vanity Fair, a highly respected publication, and they didn't hold back. The article called them American Hustlers, claiming they've been cashing in on their royal titles while distancing themselves from actual royal duties.
It's not that potential book deal that's already dead in the water, Kev.
Okay.
Page 6 is reporting that Harry and Meghan's 20 million Penguin Random House deal that they signed in 2021 seems to have quietly dissipated. That is the story. It's, you know, Vanity Fair is clear in communicating the fact that this was a theoretical pitch that someone on Meghan's team was making. If there's ever a divorce, how much do you think this book would be worth to you? So they were very clear about that. And when we spoke on Recollections May Vary, I thought you made a really great point in explaining that based on the amount of research and amount of attorneys involved in an article like this, how watered down must have that section been, considering the fact that it was rumors? So, so the Page 6 article says that Penguin Random House had higher expectations for Harry and Meghan, and I remember those. Prince Harry and Meghan expected to pen a leadership book, Meghan's potential wellness book, a potential cookbook for Meghan, and the story is that this deal seems to have just slowly dissipated. Is it because of some of those allegations in Vanity Fair about how these two, their work ethic is incredibly questionable, their collaboration skills not so strong? Is that potentially why Penguin Random House no longer? So it could be, if Page 6 is correct, Spotify and Penguin Random House that have said, you know what? The return on investment's not here. We're going to move on. Yeah.
So, this is where I got my wires crossed, that it was apparently originally the money on the table potentially was a $20 million Penguin Random House book deal that the two of them signed in 2021. But an insider familiar with that deal...
Even worse, the piece revived old bullying allegations against Meghan, suggesting that her treatment of staff was so bad some needed therapy. And guess what? Neither Harry nor Meghan have denied it. Instead, they just called the article distressing. Sounds like damage control to me. What do you guys think? Drop a comment below. The $20 million book deal falling apart. Remember that massive $20 million publishing deal with Penguin Random House? Well, it looks like it's quietly falling apart.
Has added that they haven't heard anything about a potential divorce tome by Meghan. So that would be where my confusion was. But interesting, though, a $20 million book deal. So back in 2021, Penguin Random House, one of the biggest publishing houses in the world, considered that these two could be publishing gold, that any book by them might make that company a fortune. Now, if the Page 6 story is true, and by the way, that is a good gossip column, they tend to get their facts right. If this is right, then Random House, Penguin Random House have lost interest. They don't think... that would be because they're not sure they'd get their money back. That's a real turn of events and a real indication that the Harry and Meghan brand is on the serious slide.
And I believe this because even the ghostwriter for Prince Harry's book, Spare, came out and said this was kind of a difficult process, getting Prince Harry to open up and getting approval for everything that he wanted to include in the book. So Prince Harry's ghostwriter has alluded to the fact that Spare was not easily executed. And while commercially Spare was successful, the reality is Harry and Meghan, the interest people have in this couple it's really fixated on their relationship with the British royal family. And the royal family has iced them out over the last 5 years. They don't have any new content. There are no more secrets to share. Now, where I think that there's a contradiction potentially there is when Prince Harry was still kind of in fight mode. He did tell, I believe it was the Telegraph, that he removed almost 400 pages from Spare because he felt like it was too damaging to the family. So could that be another book? I don't know.
Blimey, I'd like to read those 400 pages if they were more damaging than what actually went into the book. They must be serious bombshell stuff, that.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like that at the time. I even felt at the time like that was a threat and not necessarily a tease for a new book.
According to Page 6, the publishing giant is no longer interested in working with them. Why? Simple. They didn't deliver. Harry's memoir Spare had its moment, but let's be real, people have moved on. Meghan was supposed to write a leadership book, a wellness book, even a cookbook, none of which ever happened. And now, the publishing house doesn't see them as a smart investment anymore. Not to mention, there were rumours that Meghan's team was secretly shopping around a post-divorce tell-all book. If true, that's next-level calculated.
But
by the way, Kinsey, who removes 400 pages from a book?
I'm not even sure he can read 400 pages. So
well, you can rest assured of that. He's probably he's now written more books than he's read, as in Spare. But seriously, well, he didn't write it, did he? There was another thing. But in terms of this actual deal, anyway, as you mentioned earlier, I'm just reading the New York Post page 6 piece. Who wants to read a book on leadership? Well, what is their obsession with leadership? Didn't they make a program?
Well, Kevin, that was an option. That was an option in March of 2020, before they both viciously attacked their families. That was an option before we knew who they really are. And now we know who, because he could have come at it from a perspective of his time in his military service. I mean, he could have tried to pull that off. My mother passed away. I've overcome so much grief, but now we know that these are two people that perpetually live in victim mode. They have both alienated their families, both sides of their families. We don't aspire to be like two people that are constantly fighting with people, that are dramatic, that are troublemakers. We don't aspire to be people like that.
So the big question is, have Harry and Meghan lost their magic, or did they never have it in the first place? Hollywood turns its back. Let's talk about Hollywood, because when they first landed in California, people said they'd be the biggest power couple in the industry. Netflix, Spotify, book deals, everybody wanted a piece of them. But now, Spotify dropped them. Netflix cancelled Meghan's show. Penguin Random House is backing away.
So, that leads to the question, will Meghan's show be a success when we don't aspire to be somebody that is not liked, is villainized, and people don't really aspire to be like her? But I think that those were options for them prior to us seeing their true colors. But this article says, and I am confident that this is true, Penguin Random House, Netflix, and Spotify signed these big dollar deals with these two individuals because they were under the assumption that they were going to get the Oprah interview. And Netflix is really the only one that got anything similar to that. Spotify was like, we don't want to hear you complaining about Austin Powers. We're killing this deal. And Penguin Random House has kind of realized they got everything out of Prince Harry that they possibly could want. And what's left? I think that they're limited as to their appeal right now, because this victimhood narrative that they just dwell in, and the ugliness of, how they treated the Queen and Prince Philip towards the end of their lives. People are having a hard time forgiving and forgetting. Yeah.
Didn't they make a documentary on leadership? Didn't Harry do that?
Live to Lead, yeah.
What is this? What is it? What do they mean? But what leadership? What's that about? Why is he so obsessed with leadership? I'll tell you why he's obsessed with leadership, because he thinks he's a leader. Do you know what leadership is about? It's about, leaders are brilliant, and if you're not a leader, well, you're just a prole. It's his obsession with status, isn't it?
Yeah, it is his obsession with status, but I also think that he was probably guided by counsel to head in this direction to justify the $50,000 to $100,000 lectures that we were originally told that they could secure, that they have yet to secure. Remember when they left the royal family, everybody was saying, man, they could get probably $50,000, $100,000 for a speech. He going and talking in front of huge corporations. I think that people advised him that that was a way that he could go. But when you write a book talking about your tallywhacker, people are going to have a hard time taking
frozen tallywhacker.
People are going to have a hard time taking
I've never heard that one before, by the way. Tallywhacker. Okay. But I get your point. Let's move on. Let's talk about look, Harry's done it again.
So what went wrong? It's simple. Results matter. Hollywood doesn't care about titles or drama. They care about content that sells. And after the Oprah interview and Spare, people realized that Harry and Meghan don't have anything new to say. If you think about it, their whole brand has been built on exposing royal secrets. But now that the royal family has cut them off, what's left? If you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel. PR stunts and public backlash. And if all of that wasn't enough, let's talk about their latest PR disasters. Recently, they showed up in fire-ravaged Los Angeles for a charity visit, posing for photo ops in front of destroyed homes.
They're just not getting the memo, these two, are they? So, was it last week, beginning of last week, they go down to fire-ravaged Los Angeles, to Pasadena, and they are pictured photo-opt, sifting through the wreckage, walking through the embers of destroyed houses, hugging victims and all that. The people of Los Angeles reacted with disgust. Most of them were appalled. They just said these two are tragedy vultures, grief grifters, disaster tourists. So they were basically told, look, this is not the time for celebrity photo ops. Please go away. Meghan, of course, turned up the very next day for another photo op, carrying big bags of supplies. So she didn't get the memo, so people jumped on her again. And now Harry's done it. He's gone to meet some firefighters who risked their lives in the Los Angeles fires. They are the firefighters who used dogs to help them. And, you know, so there's all these pictures of him shaking hands with firefighters at their depot and stroking the dogs, and it's like a royal visit. And you think, why? What is this for? Why is he doing this? I mean, apart from looking a little bit like, just like they did last week, that he's somehow cashing in on the LA fires for good publicity. What does he think he's doing? I wrote something today which suggests, I've got this feeling that the only thing he knows is like regal visits, royal visits, VIP visits. And so he's reverting to that. He's just making visits because that's what he knows, that's what he does. And somehow or other, he's trying to recapture the glory days when he was back in Britain as a frontline royal and his regal visits actually mattered. Because this doesn't matter. It's just not a very good look. What's it all about?
The public reaction? Total disgust. People called them tragedy vultures and disaster tourists. And then Harry went to meet firefighters and search and rescue dogs, turning it into a royal-style visit. It's almost like he's trying to recreate his old life as a working royal, but without the actual royal duties. Guys, if you're seeing a pattern here, drop an emoji in the comments. Are they to blame? So where does this leave Harry and Meghan? Once the golden couple of Hollywood, they're now struggling to stay relevant. The book deals are drying up, their Netflix and Spotify partnerships are fading, and their public image is more controversial than ever. So what do you think? Are they victims of a cruel media, or are they responsible for their own downfall? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more unfiltered takes on the biggest royal scandals. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.